Okay, I got all the loud stuff open.
Excellent. I remember the time that you were painting and somebody thought you were doing bong hits, and that was flipping great.
Look, I
Like,
gotta get
yeah,
through the show
yeah, we're
somehow.
doing the show in front of a whole bunch of people. Chuck's got a bong. It's just, that's nothing weird about that.
Look, I live in Washington. I'll do whatever I please.
I got my eggnog. I mean, I do have some Granddaddy Purple right here. It's great.
Oh man, I love Granddaddy Purple. It's one of my favorites.
I brought my favorite water. So check this out. I think I can turn my.
We're live, by the way.
Oh well, I'm going to show it to everybody then.
That's fine.
You see what my backyard looks like right there?
Sweet.
This is one of many ways that it looks sort of magical on a regular basis. The sun also comes through there and does the thing like you see in movies where you get like the streams of sunlight coming through the trees and lining up the ground in weird platforms and ways and stuff. And I don't know. I end up looking out the window a lot now.
It's great. We didn't really have windows to look out before.
That is true.
We had about an inch of snow last week, and I got to take Gus out and play with Gus in the snow, and that was like, oh, this is why I bought this house, so I could play in the snow with my dog. That was the ultimate goal.
Generalissimo, we all live in Elf Forest. We live in Washington.
Yeah. But I mean, I lived in North Cape before, so it was packed in suburban thing.
Oh no,
This
no,
is way better.
yeah, no, I get that. I was just talking about the in general, just the effect of Washington is very much living in an elven forest.
We are not the evergreen state of like some sort of accident.
Yeah.
Right? I also, if anyone who's ever driven over 520 in the middle of the day knows why it's called the Emerald City.
Oh yeah.
Like, well, that city is really green and really blue. All right.
Well, so yeah,
No, you go
I was
ahead.
gonna. The capital of Australia is also very similar in that way, in that it's like a city in a forest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such a cool way to have a metropolitan area because it makes the air cleaner, it makes everything just a bit nicer, and it allows for actually better types of construction if you keep the trees because you have more soil retention, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. It's just a better way to do it. If you have hills.
I don't think I know what the capital of Australia is.
Oh shit.
Auckland?
No, it's not Auckland.
Sydney.
It's not Sydney.
Yeah, it's like never the biggest city in any country or state.
Yeah. Well, you don't put your capital in your port city. That's just asking to be rated.
Well, that's a fair point.
That's
Canberra.
what?
Canberra?
Oh man, I'm trying to remember.
None of us have Googled yet, and no one. Oh,
Lisa's googling in the
someone
background.
says Canberra is the capital of Australia.
Canberra. There we go.
That's a pretty cool sounding capital.
Anyway.
That's the cartoon company, right? Hanna-Canberra?
Oh, God.
I love Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Talk about it hitting the nostalgia, right?
Yeah. Woo.
We watched the computer animated
Johnny Quest?
Scooby-Doo movie, Scoob, and like there's like weird retro characters in there, like the dog that is with the dog that's with the bad guy, the old Hanna-Barbera bad guy, Dastardly? Snidely?
Yeah.
And it's just like, whoa, what's he doing here? Anyways, okay. I think we're here to talk about 40K, though, and less about cartoons.
They're trying to build
Motley.
a cinematic universe.
Thank you, Fred. Motley is exactly the name that I was trying to remember. I'm so glad that we're all here to help.
Yeah.
Team effort.
We'll get there together.
Yeah, exactly. It's a team effort. Well, I think we're ready to get rolling. So we'll start off the way that we always do. Welcome to Best in Faction.
A competitive podcast about Warhammer 40K.
I'm Colin.
I'm Mitch.
And I'm Chuck.
And we remember how to do that.
Sort of. I think I got my words in the wrong order, but it's good enough.
What you guys don't know is before we did this live and we recorded it, we often had to do that more than once.
Oh,
because
yeah.
we'd have misrememberings of what order it goes in and who's saying what, and the person who has to say a competitive Warhammer 40K podcast, no matter whether it was Mitch or Chuck, would often flub it.
Well, I mean, this is a competitive podcast about Warhammer 40K this time. It's not
Yeah.
about. It's not a contest about competitive Warhammer.
Yeah, we're not competing with podcasts.
Well, this time we are. We have to do better than other podcasts now.
Okay. Well, we're gonna set our targets for mob rules, so let's aim a little lower.
Oh, okay, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well,
But no, what made it harder was because obviously Colin and I did it first, and then Chuck came on, and it was still Colin and I doing it, and then we decided to have Chuck start doing part of it, and that confused everything, and then it just
Well,
got.
We tried. I think we went through like 3 or 4 episodes. We just before we said, hey, you know what? We should decide who
Yeah.
says their name first, second, and third.
I think I'm first in the list just because I remember. I think that's how I got pole position is merely my ability to remember that that's what we're doing at that time.
Oh, maybe. I thought you made the list, so you just put yourself at the front.
Well, normally you'd put yourself in the last, but I know. I mean, I do have a massive ego, so.
Supermassive.
Supermassive Black Ego.
Great game
no,
company.
That's a
No.
Muse song, right? Okay, so Merry Christmas, everybody! For those that celebrated, Happy
Merry
Holidays.
Christmas.
I
Happy
think Hanukkah
Holidays.
ended a few days ago, maybe a week ago. So Happy Hanukkah if you are not a Christmas person. I myself think that Christmas is not really a religious thing anymore, so I say Merry Christmas to everybody. If that's offends you, I'm sorry. I'll say Happy Holidays.
Enjoy your consumer holiday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like buying
Oof.
things for people. I enjoy that thoroughly. This is a weird Christmas. Normally, this day in particular, where I would be incredibly busy.
Mhm.
Going to many different places, but not this year. So we thought we would record an episode. It's been about a month since we last recorded. A lot's happened in that time. I will share for those that are watching on Twitch. I am wearing a Christmas shirt to celebrate Christmas here. You can see that this is the Dashing Through the Snow shirt. We have wiener dogs and many wiener dog related items. Also, this hat is my festive winter hat because my brother went to college for technical theater, and to get his technical theater degree, like he does lighting and sound and stuff for theater productions. To get that degree, he had to take a costuming class, and during that class, he and I laughed a lot because he and I are not good at that sort of task. We're not crafty people, but he made this hat and gave it to me for Christmas, probably 20 years ago. And it is held up, and so I wear it at the Christmas time. It's a ridiculous hat, but I enjoy it thoroughly. It's incredibly warm, so we'll see how long it lasts. Anywho, so here's what's funny about since the last time we met. What's the big thing that happened to you in the last 30 days, Chuck?
I moved to this much better house.
Yeah, and what's the big thing that happened to you in the last month, Mitch?
I've moved twice.
Oh, I see. It's a competitive podcast. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Because Mitch
And my
says,
T-whip on those moves is fucking astounding.
Yeah, you're putting the reps in.
man, I kind of want to name the episode "The T-Whip" on those moves is outstanding.
Seems good.
So, to say that, and then obviously COVID's going on. So to say that we were distracted is an understatement over the last month. So we weren't able to record. We apologize for that. There were some stream games, 2 of them over the last 30 days, I think. You can find those on Twitch. I eventually put them on YouTube. I'm not great about that. I'm trying to get better. So that's what's going on with us.
I'm gonna take that opportunity to say a perk of being a Patreon is that on our Discord there are often TTS games going on. That people share their screens on the Discord, so you can actually see other games. They're not necessarily us. Sometimes they are. I got in a game yesterday, but there's a lot of play going on with a lot of people, and so that's a cool thing that's kind of really become. It's got momentum in I think the last couple 3 months.
Yeah.
I popped in there a couple weeks ago and had a really great time playing a game.
Yeah, usually it's great. There was a funny experience where Peter has one of those massive, super wide, thin monitors, and I tried to watch him stream that from my phone, and it was like on the phone it ended up being this tiny bar that was super duper wide, and I'm like, I don't think this is what they intended when they created this interface.
Yeah, I saw that monitor and I had to get one because it's so good and it's a game changer. It's phenomenal.
Okay, well, great.
But, if we're talking about TTS right now, though, I'm actually playing games again. It's the only way you can really safely do it, and I have actually gotten to play twice now.
Excellent.
What were you playing?
I
Space
got
Wolves?
to play. I played Space Wolves against Peter's Harlequins. So in that game, I ran 45 Fenrisian Wolves, 15 Thunderwolf Cavalry, Logan Grimnar on his sleigh, and a couple other characters, the Chaplain, and I think Canis Wolfborn.
It's
And
the season for playing with him on the sleigh.
yeah, it felt very thematic, but and it was very much I'm gonna run at you, and you're either gonna be able to out jank me or kill me fast enough that I won't be combat effective anymore. But what ended up happening is he prioritized into the Thunderwolves, which absorbed I think a little bit more damage than maybe he was expecting, and some of the Fenrisian Wolves were able to get through, and they just eat up troops because they're AP 2, Strength 4, 1 damage, but like you have 2-3 attacks each, depending if Canis is nearby, all hitting on 3s. It's like 45 attacks, which not great for troops. But so the second game I actually played yesterday, also against Peter, because we have similar work schedules. It seems like I played an AdMech list that was a mix of Mars and the Radforge world. For the -1 toughness auras, so I was running Silver Hounds, kind of experimenting with that, and Peter was experimenting with the new Deathcore rules, which are shockingly better than they're decent at least, which is better than they've ever been. They're pretty good. He beat me. I was my cavalry could not kill his cavalry as fast as he was killing mine. He just hit between his tank commanders. And his full payload mana core, he was able to pick up 3-1 models really fast.
Man, full payload mana core, so good.
Yeah, and
I think every guard list starts with 2 of those.
Yeah, but the Deathcore Cav are really solid. They're very interesting. They add a lot to the guard toolbox, and I'm going to be experimenting with them. It was a really fun game.
Yeah, for those that haven't been paying attention, the Deathcore riders got an extra wound and are really cost effective for how durable they are.
And they have a full Feel No Pain now. Before it was only against Strength 4 and below weapons. Now it's just a straight up 5-up Feel No Pain.
Yeah.
Oh. I mean,
So that's
3 wounds and they feel no pain, and
And
they have a 4 armor save.
15 points?
Oh, jeez.
I think they are 15 points.
Yeah, just hold the board
Yeah,
with
they
that.
are. 10 of them is 150, yes.
Yeah. So they're 15 points. They're T4 with a 4-up armor save, a 5-up Feel No Pain, and they're 3 wounds.
And they can get orders.
And they can get orders.
I'd buy that.
Yeah.
I was to an army.
There's a comment from Mr. John Lennon in the chat that he would like to hear me talk about Guard, and that is on the agenda for the episode. I will be talking about Guard. Rough Riders or not Rough Riders, excuse me.
I wish.
Yeah, I know, right? I kit bash those, and they sit on the shelf. The Deathcore Riders are really good. I think the only problem is that they're not OBSEC. It's similar to the problem I think Thunderwolf Cavalry are going to have if you spam them.
Thunderwolf Cav can be OBSEC the same way all Space Marines can, because they're core.
With the banner? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Or not the banner,
at
the
least have a
lieutenant, excuse me.
solution. So that's something. But yeah, the non-OBSEC, it matters, but it doesn't matter too much, I think, just because they have access to tons of OBSEC bodies as well. So all of a sudden you have to choose what you're shooting at. And, if you want to kill off the OBSEC, chances are the Rough Riders are blocking you from getting onto the objective the OBSEC is on. So if there's going to be combos there. It's just going to be basically whether or not they're points efficient enough to slot into a list as that forward pressure move blocking component.
I think they certainly belong in lists. I think that they're hard to build a list focused on them. They're more like a thing you add to a list that already does something else. That's kind of what I was thinking.
I have one running 30 of the Deathcore Riders, 12 of their command squads, 3 of their the Death Rider commanders, and then 15 Thunderwolf cavalry with power fists, and thunder hammers and storm shields, and Logan Grimnar on his sleigh, and the Chaplain on bike. I believe that's and a mana core full payload.
Awesome.
And 3 Scion squads. That's what I'm currently tinkering with.
Cool.
So the Scion squads, the idea is you can push forward and then drop the Scions behind, hopefully out of line of sight with OBSEC if you need it. And you're using the all the cavalry as pressure and a buffer, and then you want to edit out whatever is going to hurt your Thunderwolf cavalry with that mana core.
Neat. Well, it sounds like that's what Mitch has been doing.
Yep.
Chuck, what have you been doing for 40K the past kind of 30 days or so?
Moving it from one place to another and packing it. I have a pretty substantial collection. It actually, I put it all in the same place and took a picture of it as I was moving it, and that made me feel things. They're a mix of sort of pride and shame at the same time.
Pride, shame.
But I've been doing that, and then barely just getting a couple of things assembled here and there. I also hurt the middle finger on my right hand while I was moving, so gripping tools was painful. So I could only really assemble 1 or 2 models at night, as far as the total amount of work. So mostly I've assembled at this point 12 sister models in the last month.
Well, just for those that are paying attention, Chuck's level of hobby tempo is when he's injured, he only puts together a couple models a night. Just so we're all... he tones it all the way down to only more than I do every single day.
It's just a Baneblade or 2. It's fine.
Right?
Oh, man. I don't even... I have nightmares about that kit.
Yeah, it's a terrible kit.
We actually have
beautiful when it's done.
We have our biggest project is on its way to us. Well, if Forge World will ever ship it. We've decided to hobby up I don't know how to say this, but I think it's called the Horadon.
It's called Tyranid Space Dragon.
Yes, I'm going to call it Tyranid Space Dragon. It is huge, and we're going to hobby it up and take it with
the
Tyranids list to there's a major out here in the fall every year that's kind of more... You get the ITC points, and it is competitive, but it's more hobby focused, and it's
Harvester of Souls.
more bring what's fun. So we are going to hobby up that dragon and put him in a Tyranids list and bring a 16-inch by 16-inch dragon with us to Harvester this next fall is the plan. So that'll be arriving, but we've never done that level of Forge World resin work. So that'll be... Like, we need to pin the wings or I can't travel with it. Like, there's a bunch of stuff there that we'll have to do.
I'm happy to help.
I know you are. We're gonna get rolling on it and hope that we can do it.
Drill.
What's
My
that?
dentist drill. The dentist drill is what you need for the pinning. That makes it the easiest.
The dentist.
You have a
drill.
foot. Yeah, it's like a Dremel, but it's much smaller, and you have a foot pedal control. So you can get really precise holes, and you have a lot of you can. Yeah, it's great.
Well, I think pretty much anything that has a foot pedal is pretty fun. So okay.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, and by the way, someone mentioned that I'm quieter than everybody else. I tried to adjust that, but I have no idea if I was successful. I'm going to get a soundboard and make this much more fancy in the next probably 30 days. So, sorry. I know we've been having some audio
Coming
problems.
real clear here on my side.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
Well, what I did is I
I
couldn't turn me up, so I turned you gues down. And my thought is that then the listeners will just turn up their audio, and maybe everything will be fine.
balance levels.
What have I been doing the last 30 days? I've continued to paint my white scars. I've got the base coats on all of the plasma inceptors now, and I'd say a good half the army has, at least 3 color. I need to base everybody. I haven't done that yet. I put together an Exocrine. I didn't actually own an Exocrine. And Stephanie painted it up with the airbrush and made it look like our Tyranids. That was pretty great. We started purchasing things and prototyping to build Dimacrons. That's going to be a project over the next couple weeks. And then I've been playing mostly Tyranids. However, I did play some Guard yesterday against Chuck. I feel like I played something else recently that's not Tyranids or Guard. But I can't think of what it is now. But yeah, I've been playing Tyranids and Guard. I'm taking a bit of a break from White Scars because... there's no tournaments, so I don't need to be super sharp with them, and they're not... I find my White Scar list, which is really John Lennon's White Scar list, but my White Scar list is a level of powerful that isn't actually particularly fun for my opponents, and there's no tournaments right now. So I'm playing other stuff to try to kind of help us all get better at the game without just stomping people with White Scars all the time. So that's what's going on with us. We have lots more to talk about though on this episode.
So much.
So many things. So next up, we're going to talk a little bit about Charity Hammer. For those that don't listen to the show or are new to the show, Charity Hammer is our.
I was gonna say if they don't listen, that's weird.
Yeah.
How are they hearing that?
Maybe they just.
But I
started
want to go
listening.
back real quick. Chuck, we are terrible co-hosts. We didn't ask Colin what he was doing in Warhammer. He had to ask himself. That is definitely a demerit on
That's
both.
true.
our
Look.
accounts.
That's also
we each
how
bring a
this-
set of skills to this podcast. Colin brings the polite and the thoughtful.
That's fair.
We're here for the rambling. All right, don't.
Yeah.
Let's just stay in our lanes.
Okay.
I didn't
Fair
think anything of it because I think that's always what happens. We go around
It
the
is.
circle and then I go, and
I
me.
know, but I'm trying to
Probably what worse is this is probably the first time you're noticing it.
No, I've noticed it. I've just said, it's fine. And now I'm like, yeah, we should do that.
My
Oh.
favorite podcast thing when I go back and listen to the episodes is when I ask Mitch a question and he answers a different question, but it's more interesting than what I
Yeah.
asked him. And that's a thing that I really, really appreciate. Where Mitch is like, I'm going to go talk about this. And I at the point, about 3 minutes into it, I think, this isn't what I asked, but this is better. Okay, great.
It's like a search
What
engine.
you were really wanting to ask.
It's exactly. You somehow knew my actual desire.
Yeah, you put in some keywords and it goes, oh, people who want this keyword end up being happy with this. Here you go.
Yeah.
Yep,
When
that's
Colin asks
exactly
this question, he'll also be happy with this answer. You're
Yep.
right.
People with that question we're also interested in.
Yeah, the key to podcasting with me is SEO, really. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but we don't actually do an agenda before the show. We just put a bunch of keywords into the chat, and that's just how we cute now. Okay, so Charity Hammer. Last 2 Januaries, we ran a stream event that was 2 streams, and last year was 3 streams. It was 3 streams, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And we ran it all weekend
Yep.
long. We fly the very best people out that we can, and we do basically a giant nonstop streaming 40K slumber party with the best players we can find. Now, the key that people don't seem to get is we're not inviting the best players in the world, period. We invite the best players in the world who are also awesome people. And when I say awesome people, I mean quality people who care about the world and care about each other and are going to be great on stream and great ambassadors for the game. That's the actual essence of Charity Hammer. We've raised about $35,000 for children's hospitals, for toys and games and things going to children's hospitals. And we're very proud of that, and we are very excited to do it again. I will continue doing it until 40K dies. That's basically how I feel about it. Even if I weren't playing 40K, I would still organize the
it's the
event
best
for other
part
people
of
to
the
play.
hobby for all of us at this point.
Yeah.
I think. Like it I mean, for any individual event, every tournament is great. LVO is the big show. Like we all like every event has its own highlight, but Charity Hammer is like it's what's at the end of the calendar. It's the thing we're not missing.
Right.
Like, yeah.
It also involves people from 3 different countries currently. We haven't done a 4th country yet, but so far it's been 3 different countries and I guess like 7 different states.
I want to call out Camilleri right now. You coward, brave the COVID. Come over here. Like, come on, man. It's only death.
Right? Yeah, anyone who lives in another country in the world and thinks the U.S. is a great place to go right now is not paying attention to the news.
Well, also it's Australia. They're literally getting to have events because they don't have COVID.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It would be insane.
it would. So the problem with Charity Hammer is that it is people flying in from all over the place, and we all talked about it, and we feel that it is, while it's great to raise money for charity, it is very, very inexcusable. It's not okay
Yeah.
to encourage all of these people to travel here.
Well, when
Oh.
you say we talked about it, we planned it. We figured out what needs to be done, how we would have to do it, and all those steps. And even at the point where we were doing everything we could, it wasn't safe.
Right.
Right.
Yes,
we were
exactly
looking
right.
we were looking at being not like a super spreader, but like still being pretty bad. And then that's not what we want. That's not what we want from Charity Hammer. It's like, hey, we killed half the pro level players in 40K,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Like,
and
that's-
despite how busy the airports are, it is not a good idea to fly right now. That's not flying right now is not good behavior. It is not. So
you should do it if you have to. Like, it's
yeah,
a-
if you
it's a
have to,
risk.
sure. If like, there's lots of situations where a family member is super sick or has died, unfortunately, and you need to go there. But why is that funny?
I don't
No,
know.
sorry. Lisa said something to me because
Okay.
if I move the wrong way, she shows up in my background.
I did see that. I saw it
Yeah.
ghostly
Oh, okay.
haunting
She
you.
said something and it made me laugh very hard. I apologize.
Oh,
Okay, because
Well,
I
just so
literally
you know,
said,
you laughed at killing family members, and Mitch is like, ah,
yeah.
take that, family
This
members.
is this is the pivot in my character arc where I become a villain. So just roll
Okay.
with it. Like
All right.
it's foreshadowing. It's like Anakin in the first 3 episodes. Like it's really obvious I'm going evil, but you guys are oblivious. Just pretend.
By the next time you guys have heard from Mitch, 3 ghosts will have visited him. So,
Yeah.
so let's move on. Okay, so we can't do Charity Hammer. Realistically, we just can't. So what we're doing is we're postponing Charity Hammer to later into the year, probably in the middle of the summer. It'll be a little bit difficult to get it in between different events if tournaments are able to start going again. But we're going to wait till the curve is flattened and going down, and at least we're starting to get vaccinations. And when I say people are starting to get vaccinations, but the people that do Charity Hammer are not in the first several phases of that.
Well, I mean, some of them are, but they have more important things to do right now.
That's probably true too. So we are going to do Charity Hammer. We promise. And it will be later in the year. But we're also going to do something for you guys in January like we always do. And before we talk about that, before we announce that, I'd like to talk a little bit about a friend of the show and give Chuck a chance to speak about him. So we've had on stream and on our stream weekend when we kicked off Ninth, he was there. A good friend of the show, Chuck's best friend, Vincent Price. And yes, that is his actual name. And
Master
Vince is a gregarious and loving and wonderful person that I've had the joy of knowing for an incredibly long time. When I was a teenager, you remember that pivot in your life where you stop only knowing people that are your age? Because like when you're growing up, you're always friends with the people that are your age, unless it's like neighborhood kids. Well, at about 17 or so, I kind of lost my normal friend group that I'd grown up with, and I started hanging out at a game store. And at that game store, Chuck was running it. Well, he was the general manager of it, and Vince was there all the time. And Vince and Chuck are the people that taught me how to play Magic competitively, and how to play 40K, and how to play D&D the right way, not what my friends and I had been doing. We played a bunch of Vampire the Masquerade, which I have a great number of hilarious stories about.
I think everyone who played Vampire the Masquerade has a great number of hilarious stories about.
It
I
generates
would like
those
to
pretty
think.
well.
If you don't, what were you doing?
I started off with I took a bunch of points in having an incredibly expensive mansion my vampire was living in, and then in the first session I sold it so we could have the money to do different things. Anyways, I was like, I'm just going to put this on the market. I feel like having a mansion that everybody knows about is not a safe place for me to live. So, anyways, so all of these different games, and it was a really big deal to me because I was like 16, 17. Chuck would have been 20, Vince would have been 21. That age gap is big. I was definitely the annoying teenager. They've both told me that.
Most improved is what we gave you. You got
Yeah.
most improved.
Yeah, we're much better friends as adults than we were at that point, but it was still a really big deal. And how accepting they were and how they brought me into everything was a really big deal to me. And Vince has continued to be a big part of the local 40K community all these years later. He and Chuck founded the Mugu Legion, which is the team that at one point was the top in the ITC back in 7th. That is now called the Legion, and all 3 of us are on. So I wanted to give Chuck a chance to tell you a little bit about Vince, and just bear with us. There's a reason we're telling you about Vince. So, Chuck, if you could tell us a little bit about Vince, and then why, and then what's going on with Vince right now, that'd be really good.
So I'm going to go sort of chronologically, so it makes a story. So Vince and I met in high school in the mid '90s as a couple of D&D nerds, and quickly from there, Magic arrived, and so we started playing Magic. And Magic meant going to game stores, and going to game stores meant we got to see some people playing 40K. We walked into the back room of one of the game stores we stopped at to check card prices at. And they had a sand table, which was very popular at the time, where you literally just have a sandbox and you call it a sand table, and you act like it's very important. And you can rearrange and make hills and things. And one guy had deployed his army, and he's off taking a break or whatever. The other guy was deploying, and he deployed and he goes, "Hey guys, come here, take a look at this. We're playing this game." And he goes, "This is what I'm going to do." And he talked through how the other guy had made deployment mistakes, and he was going to take advantage this way, and this is what his first turn was going to be, and this stuff. And Vince and I were both just like, "Well, this is just about like 100% cooler than playing with cards." And so we stayed and watched, I don't know, probably half of what was probably a 6-hour game, and everything this guy said he was going to do came through, and all that stuff really appealed to us as Magic players. Like, oh, planning, thinking ahead, building your own list, but also as D&D players, we're like miniatures and this cool, weird sci-fi world and stuff. So we were hooked. We immediately went home. Vince was living with me at the time. We went to my mom and we're like, okay, we figured out what we want for Christmas. And she bought us the 2nd edition box set and the Dark Millennium expansion. We split the models. Interestingly enough, I took the Marines and Vince took the Orcs. That's not where we ended up at all.
No.
but that's where we started. And we played and played and played. We played at the store. It took a really long time before we went to play at tournaments. We went to a couple of the GW sponsored tournaments and stuff. But for the most part, we just played and enjoyed locally, and then we ran tournaments at our store, but those were small. But then 6th edition hit, and the game started to really have like Frontline Gaming was starting to kick in and really do some stuff, make the scene more apparent. And we were immediately in. We enjoyed Magic. We enjoyed the way that you could go, you competed, you completed your different levels, and Frontline was offering some of that, right? A leaderboard, that kind of thing. So we've been to every Vegas that's happened. We've been to all that, but we decided in that we wanted to create the Legion. So we created that team with the help of a couple of other teammates, and it was great. We basically created a community within our gaming area, and we started bringing people in, and people wanted to be a part of it, and it meant that people could find games. They had people to chat with, and they had something beyond games to talk about. You start building friendships, and you have a community of people who support each other. So that's kind of like our 40K journey. Recently, that's been a lot harder for Vince. He got diagnosed with a incredibly rare cancer, and it's a pretty harsh one. It's all throughout his midsection into his bone structure and stuff, and so it's hard for him to play. And with COVID, it's straight up dangerous for people to visit unless they are like super quarantined, right? And it puts him in a spot where he doesn't get to enjoy our game. But it also puts him in a spot where, it's hard for his family to keep going, right? They down his income and up the bills that case require him. I know some people are international, and they probably already know this, but I'm going to say it. The U.S. does not help its citizens. He literally got a letter that said, "Hey, welcome to cancer. Here's what your insurance will. Here's what the 3 different insurance companies you're currently in will pay for, and you should go start a GoFundMe because it won't even begin to cover you." It's ridiculous and it's difficult.
Don't forget Anson, Chuck.
Yeah, it's his whole family. His child has just had his first birthday in August. It's a lot, right? There's a lot of things there. It's just very difficult.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to take over from here? Okay. So this is obviously, for those that don't live in our country, I'm going to reiterate what Chuck said. The U.S. has a lot of good things about it, and it is the wealthiest country in the world, maybe still. I don't know if China is more wealthy than us now, but we're one of the wealthiest countries in the world, and our healthcare system is just fundamentally broken. It's the worst one. If you rank all of these first world countries, we're like the worst one for healthcare, which I know is weird. So, and all of us have struggled with that. I've had a year where I went into massive credit card debt because of health stuff, and I know, Mitch, you've had a lot of health stuff the last few years too.
I've had 2 years of dealing with the healthcare system.
Yeah, it's really bad. So unfortunately, we can't fix that, but we can help Vince. That's a weird way of saying that. It's not unfortunate that we can help Vince. It's unfortunate that we have to help Vince. So we've done a lot already. There's a GoFundMe, and a bunch of our 40K friends have donated to that, and Chuck, and we've done that, and we thought, we want, first of all, and we're going to pivot now and try to make this more exciting stuff. We wanted to do something, and we want to do something in January that is that stream party, but we wanted to do that stream party in a way that is safe and is valuable to you, and that is something that you would enjoy, but we also want to be helpers. So
Good morning.
we've decided to run a stream event, which we'll talk about in
Okay.
just a second, in January, and we're going to call it Hammer Out Cancer. It's actually long. Its full name will be Hammer Out Cancer, a charity hammer event. So that I can use the Charity Hammer website and branding. We'll start doing more and more stuff with Charity Hammer as the overall parent, if you will.
Yeah,
Um,
there'll be more events.
yeah. I have a friend who's going to help me set up an actual charitable organization called Charity Hammer that all of this will get funneled through. Um, so the idea with Hammer Out Cancer is we're going to raise money, and we're going to split that money in two ways. We're going to give half of the money to Vince's family, so that they can deal with these medical bills, and also so that Vince can set up his family in the best way possible for what the future might hold. Because that's a really scary thing to deal with a loved one who's this level of sick, and also know that there's going to be a point where, there's going to be a point where finances are a really big problem. So we're going to do that. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to give half that money to Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research. I thought I could talk about why Fred Hutch is so important to me, and I can't. So I'm not going to. But it's very personal to me, and we're just going to leave it at that. I started telling a story there, and I can't do it. So I'm not going to. But cancer's a big thing. We're all getting a little bit worked up about it right now, which is fine. But we're going to give half the money to Fred Hutch. We're going to give half the money to Vince's family. We're going to run that event. So let's talk about the event and be happy about it, because the event is an exciting thing, right? Let's pivot now. Let's pivot to helpers. What's the Mr. Rogers quote? I love that quote. Look for the helpers, find the helpers.
Mm-hmm.
So let's be helpers. Let's all of us be helpers, okay? First of all, we're going to do a stream event. It's called Hammer Out Cancer. It's January 15th to 17th. It's not the weekend we normally do Charity Hammer on, simply because that weekend is literally New Year's, and we wanted people to be able to quarantine. We are doing very strict COVID response. If you say, well, why do you tell me I shouldn't go to a major tournament that's following COVID procedures? This is super different from that. We are, to the best of our ability, going to quarantine. A couple people have to go to work, but we're talking through that. For the 2 weeks from New Year's to this event, my family's not going to have anybody over. Nobody. We're not going to go. We'll go grocery shopping because we have to. But other than that, we're not going to do anything. Everyone's going to get tested before the event. No one is coming without an incredibly recent COVID test. We are I'm not going to talk about COVID more. I promise you that we're being incredible. Oh, and the only people that are coming are people that are driving, and that are people that are driving without taking, we're not going to have the Art of War guys drive out here from Florida and have to stop 37 places in some of the worst states in the country for COVID. So, because some of them are in the middle, they'd have to drive through those to get from there to here. Anyways. For those that don't know the U.S., we are on opposite corners. If you don't count Alaska, which why would you? The rest of us are in opposite corners from each other.
Yeah.
So we're going to do 9 people, because that's just me plus 8 visitors, which is a COVID thing. We're going to do 9 people. We're going to do one stream for Friday afternoon, our time, to Sunday evening. We're going to do another stream as well, but we're going to do that during peak hours. One of the problems with a small count is we don't get enough people that want to play at 3 to 6 a.m. So we're only going to have one stream running from 3 to 6 a.m. and Mitch will be on it because he wants to play from 3 to 6 a.m.
Who are you going to play against?
I'm hoping it's Michael Tempe and let's see. Do we have any surprise guests? What is the?
I'll go through the roster here in a second.
Oh yeah.
Tyler is coming, and Tyler doesn't sleep, so maybe Tyler's your 3 to 6 a.m. person.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. He is definitely my insomnia buddy.
Right. So we're gonna do altogether. I have the number here. Altogether, it's going to be 67 hours of content. Which, by the way, is 50% less than Charity Hammer, for those that are wondering. It is a lot less content, but it's still a great deal of content. The people that are coming, it is the 3 of us. That's 3 of the 9. That was easy. Driving up from California, practicing incredible safety and care along the way, is from High Lords of Terra. High Lords of Terra. High Lords of Terra from the I'm supposed to call it
Got it
I'm
before.
supposed to call it the Mog Rules channel, right? Mog Rules is what I'm supposed to call it. Michael Tempe is going to drive up from San Francisco with Tyler from Los Angeles. Both of them have been on the show a bunch. Those two are also responsible for making sure the technology runs the entire weekend, so that I'm not doing it. We discovered last time that I should not be in charge of making sure the technology is running the whole weekend. So I'm no longer in charge of it. Tyler and Michael are. But they're going to drive it from California. That takes us to 5. Then we have Zach Nelson, who is the without Mitch playing over the last few years, if I'm not the best player in Washington State, it's Zach. So based on just tournament wins. So Zach's coming, and we're also having Harrison's going to be here. He's been involved on this with the channel and in the streams a bunch. Peter will be here from who's been on the show as well. Pickles is going to come do stream hosting. I don't think he's going to play. I think. Oh, and Paul. So maybe that might actually be 10 people. I may have made a mistake with my counting. And Paul Winters, who of course is our local Slaanesh obsessed fanatic.
Well, I mean, actually, let's be fair. He is the Slaanesh player for the country. Like, he regularly is at least in the conversation for best Slaanesh. I feel like Paul deserves at least semi-national recognition.
He is one of only 2 people that will be at the event that has a Best in Faction trophy. I think. I could be wrong. So
I have a bunch of them that don't have anything to do with the ITC. Does that count?
Right. Yeah, I've got some on paper from a tournament when I was the only Tau player.
Yeah.
So
got a few of those too.
I have actually. I think the biggest collection is uncontested Tyranid Best in Faction awards. I think those are I think that's the ones I have the most of. Oh no! I'm sorry. I have Yunari Best in Faction awards. Let's be. Oh, cool. You want to talk about rare? Mitch always had more competition with the Astra Militarum Best in Faction awards. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do we make this? So obviously, this is some of the very best players on the West Coast, but obviously it's not the best players that we normally do for Charity Hammers. So here's what we're going to do: we're still going to do an RTT during it, and we're going to do a double elimination to give you guys more to see. And we normally do single elimination. But in that tournament, everyone's going to play a ridiculously cutthroat list. We are going to work with the community, with Art of War in particular, and we're going to absolutely have the very best list we can bring. So that RTT will be, and this might change, but it'll be Harlequins and White Scars and Sisters and Necrons and Admech. It's like the best stuff, okay? And Slaaneshi Demons, right? Which is a top tier. That's a top tier thing right now. Everything that people are telling you is top tier, we're going to have in this RTT. We're going to do that. And in fact, we're going to record an episode of this show a week before that, where with Nick Nanavati and John Lennon on here, and they're going to go through those lists. We're going to give them our lists. And I don't think I've actually told my co-hosts about this, but I put this all together. They're going to come on the show, we're going to give them the lists, and they're going to talk through what they like and don't like about the lists. And then they're going to do a bracket prediction with you guys on the show. They're going to go, okay, so round 1 is Colin versus Peter. Peter's playing Harlequins, Colin's playing White Scars. I think White Scars win because X, and they're going to fill out their brackets. You guys will then be able to fill out your own brackets, and whoever gets the closest to predicting the RTT, they're going to win a prize. What's that prize? Something awesome. No idea what it is right now, but it's going to be something great. It's going to have monetary value and have a Warhammer 40K logo on it. That's what I know. So the RTT will happen. It should be really great. We're just going to have the best list we possibly can, so you guys can at least see how they operate against each other and see how they interact with each other and see why White Scars is the best list in the game. That was my little side joke for John Lennon, who's in the audio, or is in the audience. So okay, so RTT, it's going to be great. Mitch, I think you're going to TO the RTT so that you're available for playing through the middle of the night. I think so. Mitch isn't playing in the RTT, but Mitch will be playing on stream for sure. Let's see.
I'll have to borrow models. All mine are packed away.
Right?
I'm just unpacking mine, so if you want to play some Chaos for your new evil persona, I'm here.
No. If I'm going to go evil, Like if I'm gonna be truly evil, like the fruits of the devil, I'm gonna play Eldar.
You're
There's
not
some
gonna,
of that at the house already.
you're not
I
going to
know.
play Eldar.
I know. That's how you know I haven't really gone.
There's
bad.
also a lot
It's
of Imperium
false
at this house, thank you.
art. Yeah.
Okay. We are going to do the raffles throughout the weekend for you guys donating. The donation link is not ready. Someone did donate $50, and I don't know what for. If you are the reason, it's a name I don't know. So if you donated $50 and you did not mean to give it to me, you should tell me. But we are off to a good start. We have $50 donated before anything is announced or been posted in any way or shape or form. We are going to do raffles throughout the weekend. We're going to ask the community to donate some product for that. I actually have product left over from Charity Hammer. We didn't get through everything. So it's quite chaos heavy. The stuff I currently have to give away, and as you guys know,
when you say chaos, do you mean chaos or do you mean Death Guard? Because people are going to have different levels of interest.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly demons. It's like I think there's plague bearers.
So basically,
and some of
we're trying to get John Quinnell to donate more. I got you.
Yeah. Okay.
Colin, we can. I have a lot of sealed product if we just want to do some swap rounds to give it some more variety.
I actually want to test something really quick. I'm having a bad allergy morning. Sometimes when I mute, you guys say you can still hear me. So I'm going to see if you still can. Can you guys hear me right now?
Nope, you're good.
Nope, you're good.
So the other thing that we're going to do with the raffle is a long time ago, Colin threw some money at a Nova Charity Hammer Army, and he won it. And over time, it's been sold to some different people, and it has come back into my possession. And it's these very beautifully well-painted gold Necrons. My Necrons are all flayed virus Necrons, so they do not fit the aesthetic of the gold Necrons. So I'm going to be putting together a 2,000 point army out of those gold Necrons, and then I would guess probably the final charity drawing will be for a full army of gold Necrons shipped in some reasonable fashion to someone.
Oh, I have the cases that they came in.
As someone who has seen that army in person, am I allowed as a judge to enter the drawing?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, you can. You won't get to win, but you can definitely enter as many times as you like.
Oof.
Yeah, we're probably.
Fred.
And by the way, the stream could hear me blow my nose, but you guys couldn't. Just if we're wondering about the technology of this.
Well,
That sounds like the
appreciate
stream
you
is getting a
saving
different
us.
microphone than we are.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that someone says John is going to discover next month that Grey Knights are better than White Scars. I think that person might be on drugs. We should call someone.
Okay, let them enjoy their trip.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna do raffles. We're gonna give that army away. How do you get tickets? If it's the way we did it for Charity Hammer, which we haven't completely decided, probably will be. It's every $30 you donate. You don't buy tickets. Okay. I don't know why people have gotten annoyed with me about this, but it really works wonderfully. You don't buy tickets. You donate money. Every $30 you donate is a ticket. I keep a spreadsheet. Actually, this year someone else will keep a spreadsheet, which will be exciting. But I keep a spreadsheet of everybody who's donated, and I give you, like, if you donate $90, then you get 7, 8, and 9 on the random number generator. And then I random number generate, and then I remove you if you've won something. So, and then we ship all that out. So we're going to do raffles. We're going to give that army away. We'd like to raise enough money that selling that army would not have been a better deal.
Absolutely.
That would be the goal. So let's see. What else do we got about this event? We'll be debuting the Horadon. The Horadon. I'm trying not to make it sound like it's something lewd. The
Tyranid
Horadon.
Space Dragon.
Yes, exactly. Tyranid Space Dragon. I will be playing. I'll be playing some White Scars and some Tyranids and some Guard that weekend. Chuck, what things do you think you'll play that weekend?
Well, I think I'll be probably Necrons, maybe a little bit of Orcs, depending on where we think things are. A Death Guard is a possibility. I don't know what the timeline looks like there. And I'm hoping to have enough sisters together that I could reasonably play that there. But that is a pretty tight timeline since I have 12 models assembled, and I would need a full 2,000 points in 3 weeks.
But I did give you 20 more for Christmas.
Yeah, that's how I got one. That's how I got to 12.
Oh, did you put someone together last night?
I put one together while we were getting started.
Okay. This is the Chuck hobby progress that I'm used to.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think that's what we've got to announce for now. We're gonna. No, I don't want to announce that. You guys are gonna get excited about it, and we don't know if technologically we can do it yet. There's something neat that we're gonna try to do.
That
Tell you
might
about-
happen.
Tell you about it
You
later.
might be excited. You might be let down.
Yeah, it depends on if people smarter than me can make it work or not. So January 15th to 17th, that's what's going on. It'll be at twitch.tv/BIFPOD. The second stream, I probably will be Art of War. I think that's what we talked about.
Hammer, maybe?
I think Art of War is the other sponsor.
No.
Or Can
Yeah,
Hammer.
sorry.
Yeah.
There are multiple streams. Like even with the 2 streams, we'll probably have multiple channels that'll be putting that out there, so
Yes.
you'll be able to find it in multiple places.
That's right. Okay, so the next episode will be all about Hammer Out Cancer. And we'll have John and Nick on, and we'll talk through the list. It'll be great. So that'll be the next episode. Any questions, thoughts, additional things that we want to talk about Hammer Out Cancer? It does not replace Charity Hammer. If anything, it sets us up to do Charity Hammer twice a year.
At least.
Which
Oh
I'm
no!
not against. I'm not against that idea, and I'm the one that does. I'm the one that does by far the most work on it, and I'm not against that idea. Okay. Cool.
Well, and then it allows for franchising. So
Right.
Would you like to make a charity? Would you like to make a charity?
Hammer
like a
Australia, Charity
event?
Hammer Europe, Charity Hammer Hong Kong.
Charity Hammer Down Under, I believe, is how they would prefer.
Well, the Charity Hammer
Down Under
Australia was
sounds like
obviously
a.
the Charity Hammer in New Zealand. I mean, I felt like that was implied.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what we got going on in January for you guys. Hopefully tournaments start up soon after that, and we can do the actual Charity Hammer OG. We'll be like Penny Arcade, Mitch. Well, Charity Hammer Prime.
Yep.
Yeah.
Charity Hammer Prime
I
will
like
be
it.
hopefully in
For
the
Child's
summer.
Play, that works really well.
Yeah, I guess Child's Play too. Yeah. By the way, we've talked on the show before about the fact that no one at Child's Play has ever talked to me. That has changed. I have a contact at Child's Play now, and so there will be cross promotion and stuff, and as we get closer. Charity Hammer After Dark. Remember the people donating to get there was people
So-
the first one people donated to get Sean to say things, to get Abuse
Yeah.
Puppy to say things into the microphone.
Yeah. So for as the official host of Charity Hammer After Dark, I can tell you that I'll be playing the No Sleep Till Cavalry list, which is the Deathcore and Space Wolf list I outlined earlier. And I will be bringing the weirdest and jankiest list I can come up with, just because it's going to be late. Why not add complication to sleep deprivation? So
Well, I've got some Thunder Cav, and Peter's got a whole bunch of Deathcore
Yo.
riders that are painted beautiful.
he's already got the models.
Yeah.
I forgot one of the most important armies I'll be playing. I'm going to stop by Vince's house and pick up some knights.
You are.
That's
You
going to
are.
be fun. I'm pretty excited about. Like, been already looking at the list that John Lennon was working on there, and I was like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, John
This is-
Lennon's got a top secret knight list that he thinks is actually competitive. I don't know if I believe him, but he's smart.
Well, if he
So-
can get me to play it well,
I mean-
it might be.
Yeah. And then so Chuck will bring some Stompy Robots, which is very much in the spirit of Vince, who is primarily a knight and Eldar player, not at the same time, because Eldar.
It's like an
knights
Eldar collector who plays knights.
suck. Yeah, I think that's fair. When I met you guys, he was a Chaos player, which is
Mhm.
Chuck's largest collection, I believe. And
I
Chuck
actually,
and Chuck was a Space Wolf player, of which he owns none.
we swapped Imperium for Chaos.
I actually
With
own
other-
Chuck Space
I
Wolves.
just. Oh, is that where they went?
Yep.
Oh,
Really?
man.
Not all of them, but some of them.
That's great.
Wow.
I've
That's
got
great.
his old Ragnar with the 2 wolves on the
Oh.
chains and everything.
That one's cool.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the old. That guy's tinier than a guardsman.
It's great. Oh, I love it.
All right, so let's move on to the next topic. We've got 2 more topics for y'all. The first topic is Chuck went on a Necron adventure that he talked to you guys about, and
Yeah.
he's going to talk about his takeaways from that Necron adventure, and then what's happening now, which is very Angry Nun related.
Yeah. So, I think it's really interesting. I talked about this. I touched on it a little bit last time we talked about it, but I really learned a thing, I guess, and I just wanted to share it. With the Necrons, they work very differently than I play, which really pushed me to learn some things. They're so focused on your long-term plan and sort of how you're going to program your army. If you're the kind of person who really wants to figure out what I'm going to be doing all 5 turns of the game before you get started, they just suited that extremely well, right? They're set up in this particular way, and if you have skills in that area, that's how you see the game, that's how you enjoy operating. I think they're amazing for that kind of player. I am like basically the opposite of that. I'm way on the improvisation standpoint. Like I try to start the game in a safe place and then respond to my opponent, as opposed to force my opponent to respond to me. So I don't know. I think learning that about myself through that process has been really, really beneficial. But also has shown me that at least the Necrons that I was playing weren't really for me. I think you can build the other list that people talk about, where you take the 6-inch move up front and you bring a bunch of wraiths, you bring a bunch of other close combat guys, and you have a lot of things that move very quickly in small discrete units that are very good at close combat and can hold the board. To me, that feels like this is what I expect out of a demon army. And since I have a massive demon collection, I'm just going to wait till that book comes out and then play that. But I was playing, here's 40 Necron warriors, 2 220s, and the Silent King, and some other support pieces, and that kind of thing. And that is incredibly powerful, but it really doesn't fit my playstyle. I am always fighting the army to do what it wants over what I want to do with it. To the point, actually, the game we played on stream the other day, yesterday, I wasn't actually aggressive enough with the Necrons, which is, I needed to actually be a little bit more like I wanted to be, but I was so used to holding them back that I actually put myself in a hole to start the game. So I thought that was very interesting. And then to sort of capstone that in the entirely other direction is playing with sisters. The ability to, say, take a unit of Repentia out of a Rhino and move them incredibly far across the board and charge into a combat, and engage at that kind of distance, and their ability to have a very small footprint and hide. They bring the kinds of things that I find that I really enjoy, and I find that me and the army feel like we're in tune. We both want to do the same thing. I'm not kind of fighting with it to make it do what I want, or to try to make myself do what it wants. We're doing the same thing together, and it's this weird sort of strangely durable, very punchy, and incredibly janky, weird stuff that really appeals to me.
So, like, hearing you talk about it, I can totally see the connection you're making, because when we were talking about Chaos is weird, janky combos that stack with auras. Mm-hmm. Sisters are weird, janky combos that stack with auras and guaranteed charges.
What's interesting is I'm not using very many of the auras in my lists. I like being free of, I have to get these guys to here, use this power on them, get them in this aura, and get them to this location, do this thing. Instead, I'm like, okay, these guys are in this Rhino, they're in this building. Next turn, they're going to be all the way across the board punching that person. It has less areas of failure along the way to get to kind of the same place. I think really, like, to highlight kind of in a bad place Chaos is in, I played a unit of 10 Zephyrim yesterday. And in playing them, I realized they're just Warp Talons with one less toughness for 70 points cheaper for the unit of 10.
Well, and with Miracle Dice.
Yeah.
And then you get Miracle Dice.
Yeah. Like, auto charging is kind of great.
Yeah. And a strap for +1 to wound.
Well, like knowing you can make a charge, just dropping down and being like, I am going to get in contact with that unit is such a game changer. It's a fundamental change to how you see the mechanics of the game.
Yep.
It's phenomenal advantage.
Yeah. So, I had a lot of other great dice in that game, but my Miracle Dice were all actually pretty poor. I got like 2 5s and a 6 to use in the whole game. But even just being able to make use of, like, okay, these 2 4s is an 8. I'm not taking any risk that I've missed this charge.
Yeah.
Right? There's tons of space. Colin and I were talking towards the end of the game, and I was like, I realized there's a bunch of places I should have been using more Miracle Dice in different ways. I think the army's really deep as far as skills you can build specifically for it. which is exciting. That means like I'll do better and better over the next 10
Well,
games or so.
I'm excited because I acquired Sisters a few months ago as well, and I just haven't had a chance to really like do anything with them yet. So we'll get to bounce back and forth, and I
Yeah.
think that and we have very different play styles, so I think it's gonna be really interesting to be playing the same army and see how we come at it differently.
I agree. This has been an interesting trek for me because so Chuck and I have been each other's primary practice partner for 3 years. I think it's 3 years. It
Yeah.
might be longer than that. And we play a lot. We play multiple times a month typically. And we're both always trying to help each other. Well, I've been playing a very specific kind of thing in many different forms as my main army. So for those that have been in the tournament scene for a little while and you know these names, I was a guard player that was okay, and then I won stuff. And then I started being good when I played Kraken Gene Stealers, and then Double Spear Ynnari, and then GSC. No, I'm sorry. Then back to Kraken Gene Stealers this time with Vultures, and then GSC. The Tau break was pretty different, but that was to teach myself stuff. And then now I'm playing White Scars and also Kraken Demacarons, which is basically the Kraken Gene Stealer list on steroids.
Well, you just take all those Gene Stealers and smash them into one model, and ta-da!
Right. It's like, hey, look.
Which is in this current meta is a much better situation.
Well, actually, in the current meta, if Gene Stealers were good, they would still be better because big monsters are not like.
No, I get that, but like all things where they are right now, it makes sense.
Sisters
For
are
me,
just like
the
I don't know.
Dymacharian jumps over other models, so he wins in both scenarios.
Yeah,
Like
right.
he gets to come and actually get your guts, not the thing you gave him. Like that makes him amazing.
Right. So what we hadn't thought about is all of the lists that I'm playing, all these different armies are a specific kind of thing. They're all complex set of rules with lots of nuance to learn. They all want to hide and be janky as much as they possibly can. Again, we're ignoring Tau because that was a purposeful change in playstyle for me so I could learn stuff. But the rest of these armies are all similar. And while I was learning all these different armies and playing them, I'm always the janky guy with the deep rule set that's super complicated. And Chuck's armies were usually two-dimensional. And I don't mean that as an insult. It's the army that was two-dimensional, not Chuck's design. Like, if you play Orcs into me, I know exactly what you're going to do. If you play Chaos into me, I know exactly what you're going to do. If you play Double Spear Ynnari, I don't know. Like, Sisters is a lot like that. So what I'm seeing is Chuck is now learning what I would call a Cullen army. Like, in our friendship. Like, Chuck's now learning a thing that is actually much closer to how I play the game than how Chuck has historically played the game. And that's great. And one of the things that made us realize is we have to change the way we practice. So we can't play the army I'm excited about into the army he's excited about every game. Because what that is right now, double Demacaron Kraken into Sisters, which is fine. But that's but like that double Demacaron army is a niche army. It's a corner case. It's not. If Chuck goes to a tournament and all of his practices against that Kraken army, that's not useful for Chuck. That's not what his games will be like. Other games will not have 18 wound beatstick models appearing in his deployment zone on the first turn. That's not what the game's like. So,
I think it is somewhat decent practice for the Slanesh army, but that's about it.
Yeah, right. Because as they said on Chapter Tactics, a Demacaron is a keeper of secrets that ignores terrain and enemy models. So, and is faster. And has better rules. Anyways, so so we're trying to change the way that we practice. So yesterday we played 2 games. We played a game on stream for all of you guys, which was Silvertide into Kraken Demacarons. I don't think we'll do that matchup again anytime soon. I think that matchup is a really rough road for the Necrons. But after we got off stream, and because we're proxying basically the entire Sisters army right now, Chuck played Sisters, and I just played Guard. And I played a Guard army that was fun to play. It was not my play style, and in fact, it was a very close game in the end, and I could have made it incredibly close if I had played better. Like, there were noticeable places where I just didn't play that well. But I played a Guard army. Because that Guard army that I was playing, and I'll walk through it and talk about Guard in a second, because several people asked me to. But that guard army is just blocking and tackling. It's just basic fundamentals of the game. And when you go to a tournament,
I love it so much.
and when you go to a tournament, you're going to play against a lot more basic fundamentals of the game than you are going to play against Colin with his bullshit Forge World Tyranid models that nobody else has. Right? That's not what tournaments are. And we had the same problem with Ynnari. I had to stop playing Ynnari entirely in our practice games because it wasn't preparing Chuck for anything. So this is something to think about if you have a main practice partner. You have to think about this. I think it's a big thing. Yeah. So, would you add anything to that, Chuck?
Yeah, I would. It's when your army, like, it's interesting because I'm learning my army as we practice these, right? I'm learning to play sisters.
Right.
It's not learning matchups. It's learning actually just to pilot my army to some degree.
Well put. Yeah.
So your army being two-dimensional, right? Like, we'll get into the list a little bit, but really you're like, okay, here's a bunch of tanks over here. I have a couple of guardsmen to block you with, and I'm going to outflank you, right? That's a pretty small amount of things for me to keep track of.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier for me to do my battle plan, gives me some more processing power to put into the rest of it, right? It's like when you're practicing, you want to always practice doing the right thing. By that army being simpler, I was able to do more practicing doing the right thing, as opposed to being like, okay, what janky shit is coming at me from every angle, while I also try to remember when I'm supposed to do my miracle dice.
Right.
Which I'm sure I missed, like, probably 10 of them over the course
Well, and
of
you
the
always
game.
will. I don't think Miracle Dice will ever be played perfectly.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I think that's the key, right? Is it allows me to practice doing the correct thing as opposed to just getting a practice in of like a high-level table practice constantly.
Something I would add, I think that there's a really important distinction that people need to make when there's practicing to get good with a list and practicing to get good as a player, right? Practicing to get good with as a player, playing diverse types of armies is actually very useful because it's going to extend your insight into armies and it's going to allow you to see different plays that are available. It will not enhance how well you play a particular list necessarily, but it's going to enhance overall game comprehension. And since that's a much bigger picture that you're trying to fill in, it's going to take more reps to accomplish that. But the benefits are just clear if you can play, multiple armies, kind of and still be in the game. You probably have a really good grasp of fundamentals. If you can only play one army, one list, and that's the only way you're winning, you probably have a really great grasp of that list, and that's awesome. But that doesn't you may not have as much of a grasp of the fundamentals of the game, because when you go to build other lists or try other ideas, you're not executing as well, or you're not, or it might be a problem at list design. I mean, it could be different issues, but really being being able to jump from army to army to army allows you to broaden and deepen your understanding of the game in a way that reps with the same list will not do.
Yeah,
I think that's well put, Mitch.
One of the things you really don't want to hear from an opponent when you saddle up to that table at the tournament is like, oh yeah, I play your army as my other army, right? That person knows your whole game plan, and not just like they know the rules, but they understand how your army functions, and you have an understanding of both armies at a really deep level, you can do more with the game, right? It's a situation for sure.
And to be clear, you don't have to be winning with the other armies, because if you're losing, you understand what makes that army lose. So it's really important. I think that people can get very caught up in like win ratios and all these different things, and it's like play is play. If you can get it in, and like losing is learning. You're going to absorb some knowledge from every single one. And so it can be easy to take losses hard because you feel like, oh, I'm on a streak. But it's like, well, you might be on a streak because you're playing a list that isn't suited to you, but you're still learning a ton. Like that time is not wasted. And so focus on what you can extract from that as opposed to what, like the frustration of losing.
Yeah, like I think that's a good example. I will probably never win anything with Necrons. I over the course of 5 games, my tendencies will take over and we'll do a bad thing, right? But playing Necrons and learning over, Colin's out. So fuck it. You're not going to win with Necrons. I'm done. But putting those reps and practicing and sort of forcing myself into that area will give me a better understanding of how other people are working, right? Like better understanding how to tackle like the inside of knowing what it's like to be in the gun line or to have that kind of room. And it also will just give me a little flex, and then I'll be able to take some of the tactics that I learned from the Necrons and put them into another army to kind of have a new play right? It expands my playbook in a way.
Absolutely. So I want to expand on that just a little bit. Something I think that people should think about is think about the players in your area that are prominent, that win a lot, that do well. Whatever is in your meta, play those armies, try them out, understand how they work from the inside.
Mhm.
So just like what Chuck's talking about here, Michael Timpe comes up to our tournaments. I mean, he's a friend of ours. Like we want him to, but like he's an opponent you're going to see regularly. You're going to see Necrons. They're going to be good and they're going to be played well. So understanding how they work from the inside out and what those linchpins might be is just a fundamentally useful thing in Chuck's play, right? Like that's just something great to have in the playbook.
And I would add, be gentle to yourself. I jump armies more than any of us, and I am literally. I was on stream yesterday and couldn't remember how many attacks Swarmlord has. I've played hundreds of games of Swarmlord. It is completely acceptable with how much I jump armies to take a moment and be like, oh man, I think he's 6 attacks, but I should just look because I don't actually remember. That's fine, right? Also, if you are a person who likes Tabletop Simulator, that is a great way to get practice with other armies without having to have the models. If you aren't, don't be afraid to proxy everything. Chuck bought a bunch of Necrons and isn't super as excited about them. We're proxying the heck out of Sisters. We had 100 Sisters models yesterday. And 10 of them were actually Sisters models. There was some Dark Eldar.
15. I found some Seraphim in your.
Oh, that's right. You did find my Seraphim and Celestine. My Celestine got played with.
16. We're doing great.
Yeah, but there was some Space Marines on the table that didn't know what they were doing, and there was some Dark Eldar that were Repentia, and like we proxied it
They
out.
were into it. It's fine.
There was some Seraphim. Or Seraphon.
There were, from
Lizardmen
Age
and
of
some
Sigmar?
pink horrors. Whatever, they're on the right size base.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
and I think that really also highlights why Tabletop Simulator, it could be had for like $10, pretty regularly. I've only got 2 games with it. I'm learning the ins and outs of it. I'm not saying it's how I want to play tournaments, but for trying to get a handle back on actually playing the game, it does allow for reasonably precise movements and measurements. There's a lot there. It's basically making sure you have your hotkeys down, and there's lots of ways to practice with that. It's not 40K. 40K is a social experience, but it is a way to try and experiment with lists without having to commit to $1,000 in models to play them.
I just want to point out that Gusta would like to podcast with us. He's here.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
Gus is
welcome.
the best.
He would like to podcast. He says, "What's going on here? Why are you wearing a shirt about wiener dogs and not a shirt about Gusta?"
He heard my voice.
All right. So let's talk about that guard list because I think people want to know about it. This is we made these are mostly John Lennon's lists. I tweaked a little bit, but these aren't my lists. But I always feel like I should say that because I don't want to pass off something as mine when I didn't make it. But there's 2 versions of this. One is much more janky and interesting. I purposefully played the more basic one, partially because I'm out of practice on guarding, partially because I wanted to give Chuck a very standard tournament experience so that he could really get to know his army. So it starts off with a battalion that has disciplined shooters and wilderness survivors. Wilderness survivors is the I'm in cover if I didn't advance. That really wasn't that useful in our game. It feels like guardsmen run a lot, but I understand its value, but it wasn't useful for us. Disciplined shooters, which is a big part of the build, that's the rapid fire 18 trait. This list has this battalion has 3 company commanders. One of them is Carlos Aquila because the rest of the relics suck in that book. 4x10, and by the way, I play Eldar and Tyranids, so I know something about relic sucking. I'm a bit of an expert in that. 4x10 of infantry. Then I have 3 company. Now here's the thing. John has realized that Scions are great and all, but you can take much more plasma for a lot less points by just using special weapons teams and command squads. We've looked at it both ways, and it is just better.
Oh, it's way cheaper.
Yeah, it's way cheaper. So
You just don't have the deep strike ability necessarily.
yeah, you do. You just outflank them. Tactical reserve.
Yeah.
Outflank, yes, but you don't. Slightly.
Then they get 18-inch rapid fire. It's basically the same.
Yeah. So You get 3 command squads that have 4 plasma each, and you get 3 special weapon teams that have 3 plasma each. That's 6 units, which is 12, 15, 18, 21 plasma and some las guns. That 21 plasma is 327 points. It is. That's dumb, okay? And if you want to outflank all of that with the new tactical reserves, it is 1 command point for all 6 of those units, 1 CP. If you want to send some company commanders with them, you got to do 2. You're over then, and you got to do 2 CP. So I do 2 CP and put the 2 company commanders put 2 company commanders with this. But you also could just run the company commanders to them. Like, you have options. Then it has a spearhead, which is 2 tank commanders. Oh, and the spearhead is gunnery experts and spotter details. That's longer range and reroll number of shots. Tank commanders, 2 of them. 1 unit of 5 bare bones scions. Every list should have an inexpensive free deep strike unit that's infantry if you can, because it makes scramblers really easy. I have a lictor in my Tyranid army. Chuck had the Death Assassins. What are they called in Sisters? That are
Death
like
Cult
13
Assassins.
points. Yeah. So you can just have this cheap thing. You drop it into their deployment zone. You can deploy scramblers the turn that you come in. I wonder, by the way, if they'll change that. And then I have 2 normal Lehman Russes just with... Oh, the 2 tank commanders are Demolisher cannons with plasma sponsons and a heavy bolter. Then there's this 2 normal Russes that are just Demolishers. Then it has 2 of the full payload Manticores. These ones each have an auger array and also a hunter killer missile. Because if you have full payload, that means that hunter killer missile does 6 damage flat. Pretty darn good. And the auger array lets you re-roll that hunter killer missile, because remember, you're going to want to end up having to re-roll it. And then a wyvern, and then also a chimera. So the idea behind this list is if you spread out and someone does charge one of your tanks, you can run away, and then the rest of your stuff shoots that thing. It's an interesting list. The plasma's great. I enjoyed the list thoroughly. I needed more bodies just to play. So if I were adjusting this list, I would drop one of the Russes and I would add in more guardsmen. The other version of this list, you take some of the vehicles out and you add big units of cultists. No, big units of conscripts
Cultists.
with Codiez, so you can give them the 4++. Really interesting, and this is something I'll play. I'll play a version of this at Charity Hammer because I own the list fully painted. If you don't mind Scions pretending to be command and special weapons teams, so I have this list like hobbied and painted and everything. I'll play it. I'll play a version of it. It was really interesting. It played well. I think that I could have beaten Chuck. I think I could have.
Yeah, there's a game there.
Yeah, I think that I made some. I had a couple turns where I shot wrong. Like gun lines are just really different now. I had a few turns where I split my shooting wrong, and it pretty much lost me in the game.
I think there was in
Go
about top of turn 3, I came in with Celestine and tried to charge in to touch your tanks, and you got to overwatch and kill her. Your following turn shooting was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
I think if you had better capitalized on that failure, you could have probably pulled that game.
By a couple points, yeah, could have been close.
Yeah, or at least it would. Yeah, you would have been more of a fight.
But here's why I'm saying I could have won. It is very obvious in that matchup how bad the guard codex is. Like, it's very obvious. Like, I'm scraping together the best stuff I can, but like the Sisters rules, it's like playing one of the older books into Marines. It's the same thing. Like, Chuck's coming in with like basic dudes, basic Sisters with no war gear upgrades, and I'm like, no AP, and he's like, AP1, and it's like, oh right, because everything has AP1. Oh, and almost everything in your army has +1 to wound for 1 CP. GSC lost that. They had that on just acolytes, and it's gone. The Sisters army has it on everything. So like, I'm playing, and it was I felt what a lot of people have talked about, which it's the haves and the have-nots, right? Marine armies that have all of these special rules and all these stratagems and all this amazing stuff, and then you play Eldar, and it's like, well, I don't even have a good warlord trait to take. I don't have a good warlord trait to take. I don't have a good relic to take. I don't have anything that can play the mission. Like, there's just a have and haves nots, and I really felt that. Now, I was still in the game. my shooting was crazy. Like that list shoots like crazy. It's really a lot of shooting. The plasma is incredibly good, and if you do it right, those guys don't die. They're then just on that side of the board, and they can do things like scramble, and they can jump on objectives and stuff. But it was very obvious to me the difference in rule sets and why Sisters are top tier. 6 months from now, I will not win that game. Once Chuck is a experienced and veteran Sisters player, I will not be able to beat Chuck with that guard army without new rules into that Sisters army. There's just a big rules imbalance. And so the funny thing about that is if you look at what Brandon Grant's doing and what some of the other best guard players are doing, what are they doing? Well, they're doing a similar version of what I just talked about, only a bunch of that stuff is gone, and instead it has Sisters.
Yeah.
And it's like, that makes perfect sense to me because Sisters is one of the best things that Imperium has right now. It's incredibly good. But it's funny to me because like I look at that and I think, or you could just play Mono Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
I think that but my takeaway from all of this, and I thought about this a lot last night because I like to think about 40K when I'm supposed to be sleeping. One of my takeaways was, if you are newer to the game and like Sisters of Battle, I think making a soup army that's guard with Sisters is great. I think that the skill level, the challenge of that list is incredibly easier than Mono Sisters. I think that Mono Sisters is actually one of the hardest things to play because there's so much happening and a lot of your stuff's fragile and your moving. It's a
Huge
lot.
mental tax.
Yeah, it's exactly huge mental tax. Thank you. That's a better way of putting it than what I was saying. But if you want to learn Sisters and you want to learn them with training wheels, I think putting them with guard is great. So that was my big takeaway.
Yeah, EdMech is almost the same. I think I would almost lean towards the guard because I think the move units of 10 guardsmen really help with a lot of the things. Like if you're going to send Repentia into a space and then you can move some guardsmen up to hold the objective, you have object taking it and you have somebody killing.
Well,
but you could get that out of the dogs and stuff too.
You want
right?
more of a gunline style thing? Admech can kind of do it better, just like for more efficient shooting, and you can add in mortal wounds and then your Sisters are just running combat interference. There's lots of different ways you can do it.
Well, one of the interesting things is if you want to play an army right now, you really need something that can do close combat, right? Like, and guard do not have that. I'm sorry, Volgren are not good.
Nope.
No, they've fallen under the wheel there. They're too weak now for their job.
They got nerfed too much. Like now, them having a 2-up invul would be enough. Not over the top. It would just be enough.
So
even then, they wouldn't be killing the thing; they'd just be standing there with it. So if that thing's obsec, say like any Space Marine, they didn't do the job. It's rough.
Well, yeah, I think you're exactly right. So I'm going to keep playing guard because I own it, and right now my entire 40K existence is streaming, and it's something fun to stream. I won't play that exact list again. I'm going to play it with more bodies. I think if I had more bodies, the game would have been a lot better for me too. We purposely made that decision, though. I also kind of wanted to see what happens if you take a parking lot and just don't care if your vehicles get charged, and that was mostly fine. You didn't wrap my vehicles and really turn them off that much. Like that wasn't that big of a deal. There was a tank commander who didn't get to shoot for a few turns, and that kind of felt bad, but whatever.
Yeah, but it's like one tank commander. It wasn't that
big of a deal. No.
Yeah.
All right, our final segment, guys. So this is called Lightning Round. We've done it a number of times. We haven't done it recently. And what it is we go through listener questions quickly and answer them. Sometimes I'll have one of us answer if it's a very specific question that is really for one of us. Usually we'll all answer. The idea is that we do this quick. If the topic's big, we'll talk more, but we're not supposed to talk for 20 minutes about one of these questions.
Which we break that rule often. So here we go.
We're not supposed to know the questions, but Sleepy Mitch was in there chatting, so he has seen some of them.
So I'm at a disadvantage, is what I'm hearing.
Well, I haven't read the questions.
It is a competitive podcast, so this is for money, I presume.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go through these questions and we're going to answer them. Now, if you wanted to ask questions, you'd have to be in our Patreon group. Mitch, how do they do that?
They would go to patreon.com/BiffPod, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And they would
pay us
they would pay us the richly sum of $5 a month. And then they would be added to our Discord, which has, 50 different channels that are active. It's a pretty happening place. We're also in voice chat there a lot lately, almost every day. So,
there's voice chats, there's TTS games. Every faction has a strong community around it talking about what you can do. there's a lot there. There's a lot on offer, along with all of the weird geese and milk and other memes that just run rampant. Minotaurs lately were a thing.
Centaurs.
Centaurs.
Oh, centaurs! I'm so
Yeah, by the
sorry.
way,
I wasn't
learn your-
If you
centaurs.
guys want to not sleep tonight, go look up reverse centaur on Google. All right, let's move on.
No.
Okay, first question. Rate the Star Wars movies best to worst. I don't want to do that because my brain can't do that without preparation. Let's just go with favorite and least favorite Star Wars movie. Who wants to start?
Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
And the second one, too, I think.
Attack of the Clones.
Maybe, I don't know.
Well, that's my least favorite as well. So my least
It's
favorite is
incredible.
also Attack of the Clones. Minus 50 DKP for Jar Jar. And then my favorite's actually Return of the Jedi. I'm weird like that. I like the climactic giant battle that goes on forever and is in multiple places in the space combat. And I like the Jabba and the desert sequence a lot more than I like Hoth a lot too. But for me, Empire Strikes Back is like Hoth is really awesome. And then the rest of the movie's cool, but it's not as awesome for me. But Return of the Jedi is like awesome all the way through. And I was also a little kid, so I still love Ewoks. So that would be my favorite and least favorite. What about you, Mitch? Are you going to have characteristically, stereotypically different opinions because you're Mitch?
Yeah, 5, 4, Rogue One, 6, 3, 2, 1, and 7 through 9 are all fucking trash.
Fair enough. Next question. Rate the Star Wars movies from least to most sand. That actually seems really hard. They like to go to the desert a lot.
I'm having a conversation about this with Lisa. I said that I'm really tired of Star Wars just being about the Space Kennedys insofar as the Skywalkers and why does it have to be Tatooine? There's so many desert planets. Like if they want sand, we can go somewhere else. Like it doesn't.
One of the things the movies do well is a bunch of different places. Like there's a water planet and there's a snow planet, but they always like to go back to the desert planet.
They're the same as 40K, though. Once a planet does one thing, it's not allowed to do anything else.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We live on a planet with all these biomes, but we think all other planets will have one and one only.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to ask a question about 40K. There isn't a good answer, so you're just going to give the first answer that comes to your mind, okay? Ready? And Chuck, you're going to go, and then Mitch, you're going to go. And just give me the first answer that comes to mind. Chuck, who are the good guys in 40K?
Orcs.
Mitch, who are the good guys in 40K?
Oh man, no one.
Yeah, they're all douches, basically. I'm gonna go with Tyranids just to let all you think. Okay, moving on. Let's see. I don't really want to talk about Fruit Loops and Twizzlers.
You.
Why are White Scars the spiritual successors of Yunari, and why are they not?
Because they've got the ability to come out to extreme distances from a mostly impenetrable castle and wreck your day.
Yeah, they feel more like Kraken Gene Stealers to me than they do. I know that Yunari and Kraken Gene Stealers are similar, but Yunari was in and out with shooting that was fire and fading that you could never, like, it had a shooting base that you couldn't interact with, which White Scars don't have that.
Well, the plasma interceptors hit hard enough that they can sometimes kill everything in the area.
Yeah, that's true.
And not get responded on.
Yeah, that's true.
But they to me, they are much more like the Kraken Gene Stealers. I think the Kraken Gene Stealers is a fair amount of jank, and Yunari was an unfair amount of jank.
I think White Scars are actually a little bit less jank than Kraken Gene Stealers was, but with stuff that's crazy durable.
Right.
Which is that's a big difference with these three things. The Tyranid list that we were winning with, a bunch of us, was not durable. Period.
No, it was very like
if you messed up, things just died.
Yeah, I mean when I interlaced 2 units of 30 boys and was like, okay, your Gene Stealers can't interact with just one of them. You were like, oh, okay, I don't go there anymore.
Yeah.
I think Space Marines would be like, cool, we get to kill 60.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Sweet more.
And that's why it's so powerful, is because it's that fast. I get to pick all the fights. I have a bunch of jank. I easily pile in 6 and follow up 6, but I'm also super durable. We talked over Mitch a lot there though, so we should give him a chance to talk.
No. I think everything you guys are saying there is correct. I think that The thing about the White Scars list is you have the choice of engagements with Kraken Gene Stealers. You had that once. You had one missile you shot a few times, and if you were lucky, you were able to keep doing it, and so that your opponent was always losing and you were not. But even if you lost one unit of Kraken Gene Stealers, you had the second one. That was your redundancy. With White Scars, it's like I'm gonna do it here, I'm gonna do it here, and I'm gonna revive this guy. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna buff that. Like it's a lot more. It's a much more broad set of the rules that you're exploiting are much more broad and they affect a lot more units.
That's true. Okay.
And that's the same thing with Ynnari. I mean, that would be where I think it's similar to Ynnari in that the power from death kind of thing affected more units. And so maybe in that one way they're more similar to Ynnari, but outside of that, I don't know.
The next question is, what about the Dima Karen is inherently good 40k design? And I don't think it is. I'll take this one because I'm the Tyranid guy. The Forge World Tyranid rules they're doing a lot of work to make Tyranids even remotely competitive. Without those, it's not. Tyranids are middle table, middle of the pack, not winning anything without those Forge World rules. The monsters in the Forge World book are actually written too much. They're too powerful for their points. But Tyranids need that in order to prop them up. The Daimacharon for its points is crazy if you compare it against a monster in any other book. So that's fine. But that happens, right? And the Tyranid book, we don't know when the Tyranid Codex is. It could be a long time from now. This could be a necessary band-aid to that faction to keep it competitive. Why does Cullen want to put a Tyranid Dragon in his army? It's incredible. I'll talk more about why. I'm going to talk more about my Tyranid list, and that dragon in a future episode.
I feel like the question answers itself. Why do you want to put a Tyranid dragon in your army?
Right.
It's a Tyranid dragon. Like.
Mitch, there's a question here. I don't know if you should answer it briefly or if we should do a whole segment about it. It's if Mitch could institute, and we don't have time for a whole segment just to put that on the table. If Mitch could institute one reform to competitive 40k, what would it be? Do you have a quick answer to that, or should I put it on the agenda for next time?
I would create a separate championship with multiple avenues for to get in, to qualify for the championship for the end of the season.
Yeah, I love that. Great. Why are Necrons not Chuck's 40k spirit animal? You explained that. What is your 40k spirit animal? Chuck.
Going 30 inches and charging into combat and eliminating whatever I came in contact with, and then maybe touching something else. Like from purely from a tactical place.
So
that's what character. A Space Wolf character, a Repentia. I think a Daimacharon sounds like a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
From the other side of it, it's chaos. I've tried. I'm like, okay, I'm building a sister's army. I sat down. I looked in the mirror. I looked at myself. I looked myself in the eyes, and I said, okay, try to say for the Emperor without like a little. I can't. I hate the Imperium. My sisters are clearly Alpha Legion. We're Alpha Legion infiltration, and we're going to take it down from the inside. So chaos is definitely like how I would prefer to interact with the game from a fluff perspective, but they don't do that.
When you said you were Alpha Legion changing it from the inside, all I could think of is the phrase of like, you don't change the system changes you. So I think of Alpha Legion infiltrating the Imperium and they end up as bureaucrats. Well,
that's how they ended up chaos, basically, right?
Like the system changes them, and so they're like for the Imperium now, but they just file paperwork. It's very disappointing.
There's a question here that's what's the worst unit type keyword, and someone has answered Chariot, and I can't compete with that.
That's correct.
Strong take.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it doesn't actually have rules.
Is there one that's negative?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
Chariot is the correct answer.
Chariot is, you should have had the vehicle keyword, but now you can't block characters.
Being a monster is pretty bad. Being a monster only is bad. It doesn't give you anything good.
You can shoot in combat.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, chariots don't get that.
Okay.
They don't block characters.
Let's see. I'm going to start picking and choosing from these here. Favorite model in the game? Chuck.
The one I made out of 3 of your favorite models. There's a ton of really cool single kits, but I like to mix up the kits and make crazy ass monsters.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll say Magnus without his armor on for a real answer, but I just made a Nightbringer out of a bunch of ghosts and a Sphinx and a Necron spider, and he's wonderful.
Someone
My
in the
favorite.
chat says Necrons have this keyword core that's not on any of the units, so that's neat. Isn't core on all a bunch of this stuff?
No, it's on like 4 of them.
Oh,
And
it's
half
like the
of those
GSC
suck.
book where they have all these really incredible cult traits that they put into the game, and like 4 things in the entire book can use them.
On the other hand, if core was spread out into all like those close combat units, and all those combat units got to reroll wounds when they were near the Silent King, it would be too powerful. So like, I think they did a decent job. It's just frustrating.
Do you have a favorite model, Mitch?
So my personal favorite model would be the thick Land Raider that I have for Space Wolves. And if you want to know what that looks like, you'll have to go to the Mob Rules Discord. But in the game, it's probably a tie between the Fire Raptor and the Vulture. I've always loved those models. I think they're just great. And then the entire AdMech model line I love in general. They're just phenomenal.
Yeah, I have a hard. This is hard for me. I love my Eldar stuff so much, but like probably Swarmlord. Probably Swarmlord. I really like how Swarmlord looks. Putting him together was super fun.
He has so many bone swords.
Yeah, he does. And
does.
and Stephanie
He showed
painted
them
him
to
great,
me.
and his bone swords have glitter on them in my army. I don't know. Probably Swarmlord. That's who comes to mind. Swarmlord's my favorite. Also my favorite rule set. I think he is the. I think Swarmlord does the most lifting for making an army interesting of any model. Because like he doesn't just double move stuff, he's also incredible in combat, and he gets good psychic powers, and he's durable. Like he's a bunch of stuff all in one kit. He's also expensive, but whatever. All right, jumping around a little bit. We also just kind of answered what our most favorite non-competitive unit is, because like Raptors.
None of those were competitive.
Yeah.
Obliterators.
Yeah, you wish Obliterators were good. What do I wish
try
was?
every time.
What do I wish was good that's not? Basically, Aspect Warriors. Just in general.
What's my most favorite non-competitive unit? That would be Imperial Guard.
Ooh. At least
Hot
you didn't
and
say
sad
Space
take.
Wolves, because you would have probably teared up if you had said Space Wolves. Though.
Oh, they're better than Imperial Guard.
Yeah. Well, they have newer rules. Let's see. What mechanic from a past edition would you want to bring back for a joke RTT, and why would it be Scatter Dice plus Deep Strike Mishap? I think that's right.
Oh man.
The thing I really enjoyed was the back in 2nd and 3rd edition when you didn't get to pre-measure things and you had to guess how far your artillery needed to shoot. I really enjoyed
pre-measure or templates. It would be one of those two for me because
Templates
as a
was great.
contractor, the pre-measuring one gives me a supreme advantage.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was weirdly good at when Chuck and I would play it with my guard artillery, and I'd be like 33 1/3 inch, and it'd be like on a dude's head, and it'd drive Chuck crazy.
Well, I learned to do that with pulsar rockets, which is guess the number of D6s in range you'll go.
Oh,
That would make people really upset because you got a bonus if you hit their model with the pulsar rocket. Like it killed that guy and then did its effect.
that's great. All right. Favorite and least favorite thing about Ninth. Let's do favorite first. Chuck?
The new missions.
Okay.
The rest of it is pretty decent, but the mission really creates interactivity between the two armies, and the game plays more exciting. There's less times where I stop paying attention or walk away, or during my opponent's turn. And a lot of it was like, okay, I'll be here for saves, but you have a bunch of shit to do in between. And it's not like I'm not actually present. I feel more present throughout the entirety of the game, and I think that's the missions.
Yep. Mitch, favorite thing about Ninth?
Favorite thing about Ninth would be that combat armies are relevant.
I should have said that. Okay, but I'm going to go with what I originally thought, which is all 5 turns are interesting. Which is similar to what Chuck was saying, that the point Chuck made and the point I'm making are similar. But like, I don't feel like people just get blown out, at least in the games that we're playing. I feel like you get to play 5 turns of 40k every time. I love that. Least favorite thing about Ninth. I'll go first because I feel strongly about this. Stupid terrain rolls are still stupid. Come on, GW. Stop making crap terrain rolls every edition. Drives me crazy. yes, there are terrain rules, and yes, they are better thought out than 8th, like that was hard. It's just, tell us what a board should have. Tell us how much terrain of each type it should have, and tell us which of these rules we should use for a GT packet. You gave us a GT packet with all the missions and everything, and you want us all to play on it. In order for us all to play the same game, we have to have some flippin' idea what you intend for terrain. Chuck and I are playing some games on WTC terrain, and it is crazy. It's like, how does anyone win with guns ever? And then we see other people playing on terrain where everything can see each other on turn 1. Well, that was interesting.
I have returned. You can't kick me off.
No, Skype kicked us all off, I think.
Oh, did it?
I was still here.
I wonder if are we still going?
Twitch does not look, Twitch is caught up. Looks like Twitch is catching up.
Okay. I was ranting about terrain rules, and I don't know how much people heard. The terrain rules
Better GW.
Yeah, be better GW. The terrain rules in 8th were not good. They're worse. They're just as bad now because you've added more complexity to them with no explanation about what we should actually be using. We have a GT packet, and they've said that it's their intention that everyone's playing with the same rules, which is great. But like WTC terrain is super heavy. Our local stores are not going to be super heavy. Stream games, Art of War is playing on different terrain than we are. It's just really ridiculous. And for a competitive game, I think it's a massive drop. I think it's a big mistake. Just tell us what you want us to play on, or at least what the standard should be, so we can actually be playing during this pandemic and not, like, if terrain is going to be what it was like at the beginning of 8th, where stores didn't have enough, I should not be playing the lists I'm playing, because I'll just get shot up on the first turn and I won't be able to hide anywhere. So, yeah. That's my least favorite thing, and it's easy. It's by 100 miles. Chuck, least favorite thing?
I don't know. I think I actually just have to agree with you.
Okay.
And it's maybe, I just think there needs to be, if I think back to like the 8th book, it told you how many pieces of terrain and what kind of variety you should have in your deployment area. Like simply something like that said like, hey, each quarter should have 2 pieces. There should be this number of experiencings. You should be able to hide your shit when you deploy. Done. And I think that's what the TOs are trying to do. I would just like to see GW do it because that sets a standard that everybody will follow instead of a bunch of disparate ideas, which just brings us all a little bit closer to playing the same game.
Mm-hmm. Mitch?
I wish they had come out with indexes that updated all weapon profiles, like modernized units. I mean, they may not have all the new special rules for whatever the actual codex is going to have, but they could have done a lot more to make it feel like there's less haves and have-nots.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Greatest defeat in 40K, where things could have gone either way and it ended up not going your way, but damn, what a ride, and you still talk about it to this day. I have a few, if you guys want me to go first. I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Mitch and I had a game at BAO. And our game at BAO, I don't think I had beaten you yet in a game. In a tournament game, Mitch, I think at that point. Maybe the RTT where you played A Million Wolfen was before that. I honestly can't remember.
Yeah, maybe.
But the reality is that Mitch had beaten me at a number of tournaments, and I'm playing Tyranids, and he's playing Caspellum. And I rocked that game at the beginning. I played really great, super, super tight, and to the degree where Mitch was complimenting me as we were playing on how well I was playing. And I got so relaxed in this round 4, both of us undefeated, round 3 maybe, I don't know. We were both undefeated, game that I stopped playing well and just started doing really ridiculous things, and Mitch just beat me. Like, the whole game we're talking about how much I'm running away with it, and Mitch did not actually give up. He kept focusing, and he won by like 3 points on the last turn of the game because I charged Swarmlord into the Castellan for no reason. I didn't get it. Even if he'd killed the Castellan, it wouldn't have done anything. But Mitch killing the Castellan, killing Swarmlord in that combat won him the game. That was such an important moment for me of realizing that you have to play the entire game. Both of us, I didn't play the whole game and Mitch did, and so he won, and then it went on to play Jeff Robinson, which I'm now looking back, I'm super jealous that I didn't get to play Jeff Robinson that day. So yeah, that would be the game I think about that I learned a ton from. You guys?
Actually, mine would be the losing to Jeff Robinson the next round. No, I'm serious.
So learning day.
I got to play him, I think, 3 times total, and every time it was great. I never beat him, which I'm kind of happy with now. It's pretty cool to have an opponent that you'll never kind of best, and he was always just a phenomenal person, phenomenal player. And every time we played, he broke down what I did wrong afterwards, and it was really helpful. And it was not in a way to make me feel bad. It was such a positive experience, and to have gotten to experience that, obviously before he passed, was just a pleasure.
Excellent.
So all 3 of those, I would say.
Okay, Chuck, you have one?
I don't really log games well that way, but I can remember a memorable bit of shenanigans that occurred a long time ago, back in your Wayback Machine, as far as orc rules go. And one of the effects that a shock attack gun could have was it teleported your mech into combat with the thing he was targeting. And I did lose a game because I lost control. In those days, you controlled quarters of the board. And I had the board and I was shooting, and he just shot over into my opponent's army, leaving that quarter completely uninhabited. And then also getting my warlord killed, which was worth quite a few points in those days.
All right, we've got a lot here, and we're pretty much out of time. Let me grab a few more.
We skipped one from In's Boss Baby Wilson. Sorry, I just had to call him Boss Baby.
I don't know what that. Okay.
Oh.
Well, we didn't. I skipped a bunch. I'm gonna make a list for next time because there's too many that are good. Cristobal, what army do you think you're going to be playing 6 months from now? I'm gonna go with Craftworld Eldar because I believe
Space Marines.
Yeah, I believe I'll get a book at some point, and then I'll want to play them.
I'm actually really impressed with, if you look at like the Sisters of Battle book and consider that a 9th edition codex, and then you look at the Space Marine stuff they put out, and they put out the Necrons. Those armies are all very much what they're supposed to be, and I'm pretty excited to see, some new stuff come out. And I think that's kind of the same thing you're saying, Colin. Right? It's like the army that you really love, you want to see it get this treatment, and then start playing with it.
Right. Well, and Eldar to me is so badly designed for 9th that their book needs to be super different, and I'm hoping that they make Eldar feel. I know people hate Eldar. I get that they've been good forever. They're bad right now. It's fine. But I feel like they should. Like, there's so much opportunity there to make a finesse army with guns, and all the finesse armies that I'm playing don't have a lot of guns, but they also could actually give Eldar close combat back. How long is it? Other than Shining Spears, I think it's been like a lot of years since they had close combat.
Third?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
When Banshees were a thing?
And Banshees are just awful. And they just made new models. They're so cool.
They're laughable, yeah.
Anyways, yeah, it turns out if you're strength 3, you're not good in close combat. Like, that's just a thing. Anyways, Mitch, what do you got?
I would... I'm going to extend it out to a year because I think that with the announcement of the delayed release schedule from GW due to COVID and everything shutting down again. But I'm really hoping it's Guard. I'm really hoping that we get a Guard decks in the next year. I'd really like to play them some more. I feel like Space Wolves are good. There's stuff there, but they really feel like an army that wants to ally with stuff. So I'm looking at Sisters, I'm looking at AdMech, I'm looking at these different things. AdMech would be another really cool army to see get a codex, because I feel like they have a lot of concepts that need to be slightly translated into 9th edition, and they really need like a lieutenant equivalent, which we hopefully are getting with the character that was previewed months back, but who knows when that's coming now. So it's hard to say, but I really like to see Guard.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I would be, you know me, I'd be all over that with you. We would definitely read that book together. We did, Mitch and I did a neat thing when the Necron Codex came out, the first one. Well, not the first one, but the one before this one, where Mitch came over and we just sat and read the book together and talked about everything as we were going through it. That was really fun. Maybe that's a podcast.
The only
for some of the books that we really love.
You to having 3 Tesseract vaults, so.
Well, that was fine.
I'm just saying that the results may have not been as good as the process.
No, that's right.
I now have 3 Tesseract vaults.
But it makes me wonder if the audience would be interested when a book comes out that we're all interested in. And there are books like that. If we all got the book on the same day, if we jumped on and we just started talking through it, but I don't know. We often get the stuff early and don't and want to play with it, so I don't know. All right, final question of lightning round. Eggnog, alcoholic eggnog, or no eggnog? Chuck,
No eggnog.
Mitch.
Alcoholic eggnog.
Yes, I would go eggnog or alcoholic eggnog. Eggnog is a weird drink. Lots of people hate it.
Yeah, I didn't know that until.
I didn't know it either, but like I had my mom and Stephanie and I were talking, and I had the kids try the non-alcoholic eggnog, and everyone just hated eggnog, and I'm like, but eggnog's nice. And then one of my kids said, "How would you describe it?" And I'm like, eggy milkshake, which does make it sound terrible when you describe it that way. So okay. I think that's enough. We have a lot more lightning round questions related to breakfast foods.
To answer that question, it's obviously pancakes.
Yeah, it's microwaved pizza. But
I think pancakes, waffles, and French toast, all are delicious, all deserve their place in the world. So, that's what we got. We'll be back in a couple weeks to talk exclusively about Hammer Out Cancer. We really appreciate you guys. This incredibly challenging holiday season. I speak for all of us when I say that we hope that you guys are staying safe and healthy and making sure that your loved ones know that you love them even if you can't see them. Get on the phone today. Start calling people. Call people that you don't get to see and make sure that they know that you care about them. Everybody really needs that right now. Depression's at an all-time high. People are in massive financial troubles, especially in our country. A lot of people are just a governor order away from losing their home. The no eviction thing just got extended to March, but that says a lot.
Yeah, but, well, and yeah, we won't get into any of that.
It's a hard time. Make sure people know that. Yeah,
reach out to the people that you can. It's good riddance to 2020.
Yeah, which is such a funny thing because I expect January to be a similar level of bullshit to December.
2021 is gonna suck incredibly.
But we'll probably get to go to tournaments, so that'll help.
Yeah.
So please do that. We appreciate you guys. We really do. We wouldn't do the show if no one listened, because that would be weird.
Colin would. He'd be in a mirror.
Yeah.
I mean, in isolation like it is, I'm surprised we haven't gotten more.
Yeah, all right. So
I've certainly talked to myself a lot more lately.
Yeah, that's a true story. I don't know. All my kids are here all the time, so I'm never alone.
Oh,
never alone.
That's helpful. My dogs get a lot.
Yeah, never alone is our official motto of 2020 in our household.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on with us. I wish you guys a happy holiday, whatever thing you celebrate. Please enjoy it. Eat a bunch of terrible food for yourself, and then take care of yourself after that. We'll be back in the new year with Hammer Out Cancer, which we're super excited about, and then later in the year, Charity Hammer. Thank you, everybody, so much. Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you guys later.
See you later.
Bye now.